All right, let's talk about two words you see everywhere, ale and beer. We all use them, but what do they actually mean? Are they even different things? Well, today we're uncapping that whole story for you.
Now, you probably think you have this figured out, right? Maybe it's about the color or how hoppy it is, or maybe the alcohol content. But the truth is, the answer to that question has shifted so much over time that a medieval brewer wouldn't even recognize our modern definition. You see, to really get it, we can't just look at a can on a shelf. We have to go on a journey, a really long one, like 12,000 years long, that starts way before pubs even existed, right at the dawn of civilization. So first things first, for most of human history, what we'd call beer wasn't really for kicking back after work. It was thick, it was nutritious, kind of like a porridge. It was, quite literally, liquid bread. It was a staple food. I mean, this stuff was central to society from day one. There's even a theory that the whole reason we stopped being hunter-gatherers and started farming was because we wanted a reliable supply of grain to make beer. The ancient Sumerians wrote poems about it that were also recipes, and in Egypt, it was food, currency, and the daily fuel for workers. And get this, we're talking about a lot of beer. The workers building the Great Pyramids were given about 1.3 gallons of this stuff every single day. But hold on, this wasn't about having a party on the construction site. It was their liquid nutrition. It gave them calories, and frankly, it was safer to drink than the river water. It was the fuel that built one of the ancient world's greatest wonders.
Okay, so this liquid bread sounds pretty great, right? Well, there was one huge catch. It went bad. Fast. Without any preservatives, it would sour in just a couple of days. That meant brewing was this constant, small-scale chore, something that had to be done pretty much every day, in the home, often by women.
So let's jump forward in time to the Middle Ages, because this is where one little plant enters the story and changes absolutely everything. It creates the first real technical divide in the brewing world. And that plant, of course, is hops. Now, before hops became the go-to, brewers were using this stuff called grute. It was just a mix of local herbs and spices they'd use to balance out the sweetness from the grain. It added some interesting flavors, sure, but as a preservative, it was pretty weak. And this right here, this is the first real hard and fast definition. It's so simple. You're gonna love it. For centuries, if you were drinking an ale, it had no hops. Period. It used grute. If you were drinking a beer, it was a newfangled drink defined by one thing. It had hops in it. That was the original difference. Ale was unhopped, beer was hopped. And you can't overstate this, hops were a total game changer. It wasn't just about that bitter flavor we know today. Hops are naturally antibacterial. And that meant, for the first time ever, you could store your brew for weeks, even months. You could ship it. All of a sudden, brewing wasn't just a household chore anymore. It was a commercial industry. So who were the tech geniuses of this new brewing world? The monasteries. They had the land, the resources, and the dedication to really perfect this new technology. They became these incredible centers of brewing science, scaling up production, and supplying everyone from pilgrims to an ever-growing market. Okay, so for a good long while, everyone knew the deal. Ale, no hops. Beer, hops. Simple, right? Well, just when you think you've got it all figured out, science shows up and flips the whole table. And this is where things get really fascinating, because today's definition, it has absolutely nothing to do with hops anymore. Forget about that. Today, it's all about yeast. Ales are made with a top-fermenting yeast that loves warm temperatures. It works fast and creates all these complex, fruity, and spicy flavors. Lagers, on the other hand, use a totally different bottom-fermenting yeast that thrives in the cold. It works really slow and creates that clean, crisp, smooth taste. So let's just nail this down. Forget what you thought you knew about hops defining the difference. Today, pretty much all beer has hops. The real difference, the only difference, is biological. Ale yeast works hot and fast. Lager yeast works cold and slow. That's it. That's the whole secret. Now, for ages, making lager was a real pain. I mean, it's slow, it needs to be cold, it was definitely a niche product. But then, the Industrial Revolution happened, and a series of inventions made this cold-loving style absolutely perfect for the modern world. And it wasn't just one thing. It was this perfect storm of technology. Steam engines let breweries scale up like never before. New scientific tools, like the thermometer, meant they could make the exact same beer every single time. But the real knockout blow was artificial refrigeration.
Suddenly, you could make cold fermented lager anywhere in the world, any time of year. And the results? Whoa, they were dramatic. Just look at Northern Germany, a place famous for its brewing tradition. In less than 40 years, traditional warm fermented ale went from nearly half the market to just over 10%. It just collapsed. Lager, the beer of industrial efficiency, was now king. And that industrial might is what gave us those pale, standardized lagers that took over the world in the 20th century. But, when everything starts to taste the same, people begin to crave something different, something with more character. And that craving, it sparked a rebellion. Which, of course, brings us right up to today, to the modern craft beer revolution. And guess what? The story's not over. Those clear lines we just drew between ale and lager, they're starting to get blurry all over again. So on one hand, you have the craft beer movement that dug up all these amazing old styles. But on the other hand, we've got a massive new challenge, climate change. It's threatening the very ingredients that beer depends on, forcing researchers to create new, hardier crops and pushing brewers to innovate like crazy. And if you want a perfect example of this new rule-breaking era, look no further than the cold IPA. This style is designed to be a hybrid. It takes a lager yeast, but ferments it warm like an ale. Why? To create a super clean, crisp base that makes the hop flavors just explode. It's a beer that completely defies the categories we've spent all this time defining. So think about this journey. From liquid bread to a product defined by a single herb to a tale of two rival yeasts. The one thing that's truly constant in beer's long, long history is that it's always changing. And it leaves you wondering, with all the new ingredients and techniques on the horizon, what on earth will beer even mean 100 years from now?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.